Good morning and welcome everyone to our conversation. My name is Kelly Fuller. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Columbus Chamber Foundation, and we're so glad that you're here to join us with our friends from AHOLA around a very important topic on culture in the workplace. Every organization has a culture, whether it's intentional or accidental, and we want to make sure that we're providing you resources so that you can create and foster a culture that's welcoming and helps set you up to be an employer of choice to attract and retain the very best talent. So that said, I'm going to kick it over to our friends from AHOLA, to JT Turner, and to Tina Stewart McGinty to take us through this important conversation. Thanks, guys.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Again, my name is James Turner from the AHOLA Corporation, Payroll and HR Solutions. We are a family-owned payroll HR solutions company, actually the longest standing family-run operation in the United States. We will be celebrating our 57th year of service for payroll, tax, and HR experience as of this summer. We process over 60,000 payrolls annually, transmitting a little bit over $4 billion in ACH funds to thousands of clients across the United States. We have a strong customer base here in the state of Ohio. About 95% of our customers are here, but we have a full range of HR services from hire to retire, utilizing the iSolved platform as a certified partner, an award-winning HCM software platform. Serves over millions of employees nationwide. Today in our series here, we will be going over, and by we, I mean myself and Tina Stewart McGinty, I'll be going over a few different topics. What is company culture and why does it matter? How to identify and evaluate your current culture within your own organization, the connection between company culture and employee engagement, and some recommendations for positive and productive work environment. One small stat to get us started here, about 21% of employees feel strongly connected to their company's culture, which can hinder engagement. Company culture is not only important to your current employees, but possible applicants and future prospects who will be coming in to join your organization in the future. Nearly 46% of seekers consider company culture very important when you are choosing a job. I can speak on behalf of myself and believing in that same statement. Joining onto a company such as AHOLA, being family run, really they embody the feel of actually becoming a family and moving as such on a day-to-day basis. Tina, I'll kick it over to you.
Thanks, JT. So we're going to start off with talking about what culture is. And so when thinking about this, I encourage you to think about what it is that drove you to join your current organization, or maybe something else in your life. Maybe you joined a team or you joined a club. But think about what it was that appealed to you. Why did you choose to associate it? Chances are there was something that made you identify with that organization and made you want to be a part of it. On the other side, maybe there was a time in your life where maybe you went through an interview process, or again, maybe it was for a club or a team, and you kind of went through and you didn't get that right feel. It didn't feel right to you. You didn't connect with it in the way that you wanted to. That sense of belonging or not belonging is what culture is. And so there's many different definitions. You can go out there and Google what is culture, and you're going to get different definitions from different people and different sources. But the point is that at the end of the day, it really is what's going to create that sense of belonging for the people within your organization. And typically in a company, it's made up of three different things. So it's going to be made up of rules, traditions, and personalities. And so we're going to break those down for you here. So when it comes to the rules of an organization, this is typically the things like the beliefs, the attitudes, the values, and the norms of your organization. And what those things tend to do is they transition to how people are supposed to act. So the attitudes and the norms are what become your policies and your procedures. And these are what tell people how they're supposed to behave in your organization. Typically, you're going to find your rules written down in maybe an employee handbook, some type of operational manual, a statement of values, whatever it is. The main rules of your organization are going to be written down, but there are going to be some rules that are somewhat implied and they're not always written. So an example of this might be maybe you have a company kitchen, and maybe an implied rule would be don't leave your dishes in the sink. You know, it's not written down, but people just know that that's how they're supposed to behave. Or maybe if they're taking something out of the supply cabinet, they realize, oh, the supplies are getting low. I need to let the person who orders supplies know that they need to restock this item. So these are some examples of rules that are probably implied within your organization. I'm sure you can think of some, but they're not typically written down. And breaking rules down a bit further, there are going to be some in your organization that require behaviors, and there's going to be some that encourage behaviors. So when we talk about rules that require people to act in a certain way, these are going to be things like your dress code, your timekeeping procedures, again, safety policies and how people are supposed to handle certain materials. And chances are if somebody violates one of these rules, they're going to be disciplined for it. So again, if I come to work and I'm not wearing the proper attire, my manager is likely going to say something to me, and then I need to go change my behavior. On the other side, there's going to be some rules that encourage behaviors. And so these are things like your value statements. And these are typically things like maybe like innovation or different characteristics and ways you want people to act, that if they don't do it, they're not going to be reprimanded for it, but they might be rewarded for doing so. So an example would be here at AHOLA, we have a peer recognition program, and that is around where anybody in the organization can recognize anybody else for living up to our core values. So some of which are resourcefulness, innovation. And so if people live up to those things, the team members recognize and reach out and reward them for doing so. But you know, if somebody isn't super innovative, they're not being punished because they don't act towards that characteristic. But you definitely want to make sure that your rules align with the culture that you want to have in your organization. Again, going back to dress code, you don't want to have a situation where somebody is, you want to have a very relaxed organization, but you're requiring people to come in business professional. But on the other side, if you maybe are a lawyer and you are in courtrooms a lot, then having a professional dress code would be something that would line up with that type of a culture.
All right, the next section we'll touch on is traditions. And I like to think of this area as something similar to how families operate when it comes to holidays, for birthdays, or any sort of time of the year where they like to come together and do things on a reoccurring basis. And that's exactly what a tradition is. Ongoing and reoccurring practices. They can be big events, they can be small events. For example, again, I mentioned that we'll be celebrating our 57th year of business this year. And each year at AHOLA, they host a picnic up at our headquarter office. People from out of town come back. For our owners down in Florida for golf or anything like that for a little bit, he actually comes back and we host a picnic to get together and just celebrate the time of year, which it is. We understand that 57 years is a very monumental time to be in business, and it doesn't matter whether it's payroll or your mom and pop shop of a clothing store. But traditions are very important. They make everyone feel involved, give everyone the opportunity to get to know other people as well. So they provide employees, again, with that means to build relationships, which are huge inside of a business because these are the people that you're going to be working with day in and day out. So those rules and traditions, we want to make sure those are aligning. Personalities, the individuals who work in your organization also shape your culture with their ideas, perspectives, behaviors, and attitudes. Myself being here in the Columbus office, we have 4 different members of the AHOLA Corporation who work here, including Misty, who's in benefits. And we all have our different strengths, our different weaknesses, and ideas of how we choose to go about our days of work. I know my manager has a very interactive personality, and I've embodied a lot of that because of her. And so it helps with building that culture in our office and, again, pushing each other to be the very best that we can be. People matter and are very important when it comes to the culture of your organization. Like I said, those differing personalities truly help bring together a strong culture, a strong environment, and a belief that teamwork and efficiency are going to be able to embody that on a day-to-day basis. Another stat is Gen Z is on track to make up about 1/3 of the workforce in 2024. Be a dominant workforce in this year, shaping its dynamics and priorities. Gen Z is that 1997 to 2012 range for anyone who was not aware. So we're in that gap right now where this generation is making up a huge workforce, and their cooperation, their initiative to help build culture is going to be key for all businesses, small and big. Employee engagement. Gallup reveals that millennials from 1981 to 1996 to Gen Z are currently the least engaged generations in the workforce, with rates hovering around 25 to 31%. And I believe there's a lot of factors that jump into why that rate is so low. You have a lot of distractions that could be going on, as well as you have employees who simply are jumping from job to job. So if you're having employees who are more engaged in their work, this makes them want to stay. This helps with employee retention, and again, building that strong culture as well at the office space.
Perfect. Thanks, JT. So we've covered what culture is and what it's made up of. And so now we're going to talk about why it's important. And so linking back to those statistics that JT just talked about, with a third of the workforce becoming the Gen Zs that are coming up, but then also understanding that a lot of millennials are just kind of like disengaged and not connected to their organization. These should be big key factors for why all organizations need to be focusing on their culture and how they can improve it. So we're going to walk through 6 different things that relate and overlap in some ways, but are still distinctive in why culture is so important in your organization. So to kick it off, we're going to start with attraction. So of course, people that are happy and engaged in their workforce, they're more likely to recommend friends and family to come work for you, right? And so typically what most companies are going to find is that an employee referral who comes in as a candidate is typically a better candidate than somebody who's just applying organically. And that happens for a couple of reasons. So for one, if you've got somebody on your team who feels connected to your organization, they're driven by your mission, they're going to be able to kind of seek out those friends and family members who they think are going to be a fit in that type of organization. And most people aren't really willing to stick their neck out for somebody who they don't think is going to be a good fit and be successful in an organization. So that's typically why those employee referrals end up being stronger candidates than, again, somebody who might just find your job post on LinkedIn and apply on their own. So that's one way that your culture can impact your attraction. But also, people are on social media all the time anymore. So they're going out and they're posting things about your organization, and that people are going to go online who are candidates for your organization. And you can bet that they're going to look up your organization and try to see what reviews are out there. One of my colleagues actually had a client who this kind of worked in the negative way. They had some candidates who actually withdrew their candidacy with that company because they looked them up online and there were negative reviews about their culture. And they specifically said that they were withdrawing because they saw those reviews and they're not interested in working for a company that doesn't have a strong culture. So this does happen. This is very common. So the better that your culture is, the more engaged your folks are going to feel. But then also that's going to translate to bringing in other people that are looking for that type of culture to work for. So the next is retention, very similar. Of course, the people that are within your organization that feel strongly about it, they're going to be more loyal. They're going to want to stay. If they feel that they have a place that they can connect, that they can be open, where they can be innovative and really contribute to the organization and contribute to the goals, they're going to be more loyal. They're going to be attached to that and they're going to want to stay and grow. And that's going to save you costs because then you're not replacing those people all of the time. They're going to stay there long term and you're not going to have to worry about those recruiting and onboarding costs. And then we have reputation. So as I mentioned with attraction, people are going to be out there putting things on social media, but employees that are happy and engaged, they're more likely and they're happy to go out there and do that. So you're going to see things on LinkedIn where people are going to be happy to say, oh, hey, my company is hiring, come join us. Or they might say, hey, I just got this great new certification, thank you to my company for helping me obtain that. Or if you have any type of an engagement events that take place, people take pictures, they post them online. These are the things that you're seeing on LinkedIn. So it's easy to see some of the organizations that have a stronger culture because their employees act as brand ambassadors and they just organically go out and share the good things that their company is doing. Maybe they did a volunteer activity, anything like that. But again, on the flip side of that, people are very open and eager to talking about things that they don't like. And so back to my other example, people will go online, they'll go on Glassdoor, they'll go on Indeed, and they will post, if they felt that the company was unfair or that they didn't think the culture was strong or they felt that, leadership didn't know what they were doing. People are very open to doing those things nowadays, and they can do so anonymously. So it's not like it's anything that's going to hurt them. So the stronger that your culture is, the better it's going to, again, be online. And that's going to help you not only with attracting stronger candidates, but also keeping that reputation up high so that you can continue to do business and not lose out on potential clients.
All right. Next of the 6 topics that we'll be touching on is going to be engagement. And I believe engagement is possibly the biggest portion of this that, we could speak on today. And, here at Ahola, we actually have an engagement committee. Just earlier this week, we had sent an email out about how we are going to be going to a Cleveland Guardians game. Excuse me, I was ready to say Indians, but it's a Cleveland Guardians game now. And this is just how we bring our entire team together. We have employees here in Columbus. We have some in Brecksville. And we make sure we get together, a couple times a year, if not for the anniversary of our business every year. We get together for a town hall meeting every single month. But this is all just to get us all in the same room so that we can talk, tell each other what we feel good about, some wins that we've had, some losses that we've had, and just continue that line of communication amongst all of our employees, amongst our executives as well, and just helps build that strong culture for a sense of purpose and motivation. I believe any employee that feels that they are valued inside of their company culture, whether it be in each office and then once you're in as a whole, it really adds to the company's success, and they're more likely to make that extra push when they're out in the field, or go that extra mile, maybe even staying up that extra hour late at night to hopefully satisfy that customer that really needs them in that time of need. Next section is going to be productivity. Positive and collaborative culture encourages knowledge sharing and teamwork, which can significantly improve productivity. Again, we have those 4 sales reps here in the Columbus office, and we've all come into the company at a different time. So we all have a different level of experience when it comes to being in our own industry currently today. And so with that, the productivity that we all have, if I'm able to continue on and produce throughout the course of my day, I'm able to move my task aside and help out with one of my fellow sales reps, and help them when it comes to doing some paperwork, or team up with them and go out and meet with a new prospect. And so that teamwork can truly, again, add to the culture that you have. And again, Tina mentioned it, the retention, the reputation that you have, it builds itself as you go. And conversely, the culture of fear, micromanagement, and negativity in the office, it can stifle creativity, innovation, and lead to decreased productivity, and it can harm the retention levels that your business is looking to have. Lastly, we have employee relations. Healthy culture promotes open communication. Open communication is huge when you have the different offices. We have an open door policy here at Ahola when it comes to the president of the company, your sales manager, vice president of sales, or even the HR manager there in Brecksville. But you can go in and speak to anybody and just trust and believe that what they're going to give you back in return is their best advice. They're going to be very honest with you and be straightforward. And it garners and it makes for a better place for people who want to come in and work. When you have the today's mode where there are hybrid workers, there are people who work completely remote from home, and then you have people who work in an office. That line of communication is absolutely massive to help employees feel like, okay, I'm being heard. What I have to say or what I feel matters to this company. And it all falls back into these different areas that we've already spoken on. But that toxic culture can breed negativity, gossip, and a lack of trust between employees, and it'll hinder what type of productivity you can have and overall well-being of not just your employees, but your business as a whole.
Excellent. So we've talked about what culture is, why it's important. So now we're going to kind of transition into how you can identify what your culture is, identify conflicts, and evaluate it to kind of make improvements within your organization. So as we go through the next few slides, I would encourage you all to think of 5 words that describe the way that people behave and act in your organization, because these are going to be kind of the characteristics of your culture. So don't think about what you want it to be, think about truly organically what it is, as we kind of move through these other slides. So when it comes to identifying your culture, the first thing you need to do is examine your rules and traditions and look at what behaviors are they driving in your organization. Are they actually driving the values and the behaviors and the just the actions that you want to see within your organization? And then think about a mission statement or a set of core values. One, do you have these things? If you do, great. But are people actually acting in the ways that align with them? Are people working to be more, again, if it's innovative and resourcefulness, are they working towards those things? Are they working towards the overall goals of your organization? If you don't have a mission statement or a set of core values, chances are people are still acting in particular ways within your organization. So look at how they're acting and try to look for common themes, and kind of doing that at a high level can be difficult. So there's some questions here on the right that will help you evaluate that a little bit more deeply. So try to think of things like how people are collaborating and getting along. How do they communicate? So what's the tone? You know, if you have a company meeting, is it light? Is it airy? Is it people trying to help each other out? Or, you know, in certain meetings, you know, is there a certain tone or certain ways of, you know, body language people are exhibiting that might be an indicator of something else? You know, do teams and departments work together? You know, if a decision needs to be made, are they incorporating all the different people that need to make that decision and be part of it? Or are they acting in a silo and doing things on their own? Think about engagement activities. So JT's been talking a lot about that. If you host engagement activities within your organization, do people attend them? And if they do attend them, are they attending them because they want to or because they feel like they might be reprimanded if they don't? So these are just some questions to ask yourself as you try to identify your culture to figure out exactly what it is and if any changes might need to be made. So then we need to look at, are there conflicts? So one question I get, or a comment I should say I get when I work with some of my clients. So one of the bigger projects we like to do with our clients in our proactive team here at AHOLA is help them create a customized employee handbook. And so many of our clients have something that they've used in the past, or they've got some written policies and procedures that they share with us that we use as we kind of construct a more updated handbook for them. And so in more than once in conversations with clients, I've questioned a policy and they'll tell me, oh, we don't actually do that anymore. Or they'll have a policy and they'll say, yeah, we have that, but we don't really enforce it. And so that's where things can become confusing for your employees and cause friction if you have things that are written down that they think they're supposed to be doing, but you're not actually following up with it. So then what's the point of having it anyway? If you're writing down rules and traditions, the point is that they're making your company more effective and they're making your company better and making things more fulfilling. It does no good to have policies and procedures that you're not actually adhering to. And so thinking about that, you know, an example would be if you've got you know, at the bottom here, it says, do individual managers do their own thing? So if you've got somebody on, you know, one team that, you know, is notoriously 5 minutes late and their manager doesn't care, they just let them slide through. But then you've got somebody on another team who's getting penalized for being late. Again, that's going to be something that causes friction within your organization. And so, of course, there's going to be a fair amount of people you know, taking their own liberties, but you need to make sure that your rules and traditions that you have set within your organization are set for a reason. It does no good to have these things in place if they don't serve a purpose. So again, making sure that your policies are enforced, people are following the procedures and reviewing those so that if they are ones that don't really seem to apply anymore, that they're either updated or they're kind of removed from the organization. And then finally, looking at your people, you know, so I've heard once that you could have the same company with the same rules and policies and procedures, and you take all of the people out and you replace them with all new people, and it's going to be a completely different culture. And that's because people bring different, you know, personal values and flares and ideas to your organization. But again, you need to make sure that by adhering to your rules and traditions, that people are acting in a way that's going to develop your organization and keep the culture that you're looking to have. So thinking about who are your formal leaders and your informal leaders and how those people influence the rest of your organization, because that can be a big key indicator. You know, if you've got somebody who's really buying into the company and they've got people following them, fantastic. But if you've got somebody who's, you know, disengaged and maybe they're not buying into certain things of the organization, you know, that could have a negative effect as well. So something to keep an eye on. And when it comes to identifying your culture, it's going to be extremely difficult for one or two people to look at the entire organization and figure out what the culture is, because you're not on every level, you're not in every meeting. So something that I would encourage people to do is to talk to your employees. So we had a client once who it was newer leadership that came into the organization, and they just felt that things were off. They felt the tension, they felt the friction, but they didn't know why. And so they actually enlisted our help in conducting an employee engagement survey. It was anonymous, where people could answer a few pointed questions about the culture. There were some open-ended questions. And then we helped that client look at that feedback and come up with some tangible action items that they could do to try to improve that culture. So asking your employees is super big. A lot of times if you go anonymous, people are going to be more likely to be honest. And so that might be something you want to consider. But another suggestion would be creating a committee with members from different departments. It's going to be key that you include people from all of the departments so that there's representation of the entire company, and that people feel that they can be open and honest, because that's the only way that you're going to drive real change within your organization. Is that people feel that they can be honest in sharing what they're actually seeing. But again, the employees, they're working for you, they're talking with customers, they're doing things day to day, they're going to see things that leadership might not be seeing. So it's really going to be key to including them when you're trying to identify what your culture is.
Thank you, Tina. Evaluate characteristics of a strong culture. 5 different steps that we believe are very crucial to having a strong culture are being well-defined, understood, embraced by the organization, aligned with your mission as a business, the benefits your organization benefits for your organization's long-term success. So by well-defined, do people know what the rules are? Have policies and procedures been communicated? Are they in your handbook? Are they told to your employees, in their first day when they're onboarding, or in their training for the first couple of weeks that they're on the job? You want to make sure that those things are well defined, they're in writing, and you can always refer back to those characteristics, those rules, those policies whenever you need to, and so that in future situations it's there and it's actually visible. Understood. Do employees know how they're expected to behave? Do they understand the core values? Again, these are things that you're preaching throughout the course of your business day, throughout the month, when you're in these core meetings with your internal team, when you're in a group as a company. Again, we have the monthly town hall meetings here at Ahola, where we ask each other, what do we feel good about? Is there anything that anyone would like to speak on? And when it comes to behavior, this is where we will address anything as a company that we believe should be noticed, should be recorded down, as well as anything that should be brought to the attention of the entire company, so we as a whole can make a change. Embraced by the organization. Do your leaders, the people who are front facing with your clients, such as people in sales, as myself, the president of the company, do they champion this culture? It's hard to have a hierarchy in a business if it falls top down. It's hard to have that be true to your employees if it's not from the leaders at the top as well. Everything falls in order as it should. So if a janitor at a business is supposed to exploit or display some sort of behavior, he should be able to see the same exact thing from those who are the leaders of the company. And do people contribute to it as well is absolutely massive. And making sure you're making the conscious effort to be a part of that culture, be a part of whether it's a winning culture or a learning culture that you're trying to input into the company. You want to make sure things are aligned with your mission. Does your company culture further your company's purpose? If it doesn't, it's something you should go back and reflect on with leadership, with the different teams that you have, and see where changes need to be made so that they can, continue to align and help push your business forward. Do the subculture of different teams align with broader culture of the organization? This is a great question to ask, because you can have the different groups within an organization. You can have sales, you can have HR, you can have, in our case, we have accounting, we have a completely different engagement committee. You want to make sure that all of those are in line, and that you're breathing in the same air with everyone at the same time, and not there's a belief amongst this group, because once things start to differ is when you have colliding differences amongst groups, and it only can impact into a negative culture. If people are not aligned with the mission, they likely are not following rules and traditions. Self-explanatory. You want to make sure that, again, the alignment of what you believe in your company's mission, your culture, the policies that you have in place, the rules, that they're all just in congruency to where you're able to continue to conduct business effectively. Lastly, the benefits to your organization's long-term success. We understand that culture is not built overnight. It is something that is a continuous work in progress. You want to make sure you're evaluating recent successes as well as failures. There's going to be, valleys, and there's going to be dips and when it comes to success and failures in a business. And you want to make sure you keep that even playing field or that even plateau to where, okay, we had a bad month here, but, the next month we were able to, bring things back up to a very level playing field and get it back to where we needed it to be. Identifying the underlying reasons and determine if part of your culture is contributed to it, as well as strengthening those things that contribute to success and revise those that are causing problems. 87% of small to mid-sized businesses report retain and engaging existing employees as the HR initiative most critical to company success. I to speak on this stat here by Mineral 2023 to say the HR report, it's so hard in today's market when it comes to employees to retain employees solely because there are so many differentiating factors between the benefits that a company offers, between the pay that they're getting, between the type of work that they're performing. But the culture is truly something that's able to retain employees despite everything else that may be going on within the business. No one size fits all. The culture at every different business is going to be different. Successful organizations are those where people do work well together. They enjoy coming to work and they enjoy, being able to help one another out. So if you're able to establish trust, build a community amongst your employees, help employees flourish, there's going to be times where employees not performing as well as you possibly want them to be, but how are you able to push them out of that rut, out of the mud, and into a phase to where, okay, now they feel like they can succeed. And, now they're gaining the momentum in their own job, their own, whatever their job description may be, and to excel in that. And in return, you're going to find that employee helping out the next person and just bringing that next person along. And then lastly, being able to strive for diversity. Again, no one size fits all. There's going to be a broad number of different types of people who are within an organization. And it's a great to see different types of people working together and sharing those ideas, sharing their beliefs, and being able to put all that into one successful unit. All right, improving culture and the impact on engagement. Establish clear rules, traditions, and values, and then culture improvement. One way for culture improvement is defining those rules, traditions, and values. They let us know at a whole exactly when we're having monthly meetings, if we're going to have a engagement committee, what the engagement committee is, such as when events are going to take place. Writing them down, making sure that it's visible. I know a lot of people have possibly practiced when you have goals in anything that you do in life, being able to write them down, making them visible, and reading them back to yourself at a different point in time helps it really sink in with what it is you're trying to accomplish. Including them in your employee handbook. I know a lot of people, see the employee handbook on their first day of work. I know Tina could attest to it. They write them down, they get them in there, and then sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. But being able to make that accessible in your employee handbook so that people can refer back to it. Regularly discussing these topics during, like I mentioned, town hall meetings, new hire onboarding, ongoing training. We have ongoing training on different aspects of our business, different services that we offer, throughout the course of the week, the month, and the year. And it's available to us internally, not just to, the clients or the prospects that we're working with. And again, Tina mentioned employee recognition. We have different programs each month that we highlight during our town hall meetings for, the pillar awards, who represent exactly what it is that we stand for as a company. And again, it brings a positive employee morale to those meetings. It's a feel-good meeting, and people are happy to come to them and celebrate our other employees and coworkers. And the impact on engagement. Three things we believe it does. It creates consistency and provides clarity to employees on what it is that they're here within the business to do. Their performance and their behaviors. There is no win too small. There is no loss too big for the company that we don't sit down and we talk about and say, how can we improve upon this? Or what do we do right in this situation to, to have this win, to garner this win, or to, to bring on this client and, make them happy and do exactly what it is we told them we were going to do. And it helps employees understand how they can contribute to the organization and create a sense of belonging. Some people's everyone's job is different within an organization, but being able to help them understand that, hey, this is where you need to be a star at. And I played sports in high school, so being a star in your role, I believe, has always been something that is key in any team, any group environment, as well as in a business. Lastly, employees who resonate with their company's values and culture tend to stay longer. I've been with the company here a little bit over a year, but there are multiple employees that we have at Ahola who embody the culture and have been with Ahola for 15 years, 20 years, 25 plus years. And you can see it when they come to work every single day that they embody the core values that we have, the culture that we want to have. You can see it in these people, that it's an ongoing thing.
So the next one to focus on is encouraging open communication. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I really can't state that enough, that open communication on both sides, the leaders and the employer, as well as the employees, is really going to be key to a successful culture. So again, going back to some of JT's examples about our monthly town hall meetings, if you do something similar, talk about company goals and performance. People want to know how the company is doing that. We do that here at Ahola, and it helps us all understand, when things are going great and how we all fit into the company's goals and the strategy, so that we know on a day-to-day that we're being part of the bigger good, the bigger things that we're trying to obtain as an organization. And that helps people connect with your organization. Asking for feedback and being open to it. Again, don't ask for feedback from your employees if you're not willing to take it, because that's going to be not a good driver for your culture. But if you really are trying to understand what your culture is and you're looking to make improvements, again, asking your employees is going to be key, but then doing something with it. So taking that feedback and taking actions from it. And even if it's something, maybe it's something that's slow, right? Culture doesn't get improved overnight. Culture doesn't grow overnight. It takes a long time. But communicating back to people that you heard them, if somebody gives you a suggestion, let them know that you heard them and that you're going to take that into consideration, and just letting them know that you've listened. Again, going back to open door policies, that only works so far as you leave your door open. If you've got leaders in your organization who are always working behind a closed door, even if you have open door policies, written all over the wall, if people are staying behind closed doors, your employees aren't going to feel like they can actually go in and talk about their concerns. So actually making time to talk to the employees and making that time to let them share their concerns or thoughts or ideas that they have, and encouraging that collaboration and active listening. These are all going to have a positive effect on your engagement, because that's going to help people feel trusted. Again, if you're sharing financial information or the state of the business, people are going to feel like you trust them, and they're going to want to stick around. It's going to make them feel that they're connected to your organization, and it's going to help build better relationships between workers and managers if they truly feel that they can be open and honest in things that are happening within your organization. So another one is helping employees flourish. So really investing in your employees' development. And so that could be tuition reimbursement, that could be a mentor program, that could be different types of conferences that maybe somebody goes to. And so something I hear from a lot of my clients is, well, Tina, what if I invest all this time and all of this money into my employees and then they leave? And then the question I ask them back is, well, what if you put all this time and investment into your employees and they stay? Right? So the investment that you give into your employees is an investment into your company. Yes, some people you will train them, you will develop them, and they might leave. But the whole point of building this culture is creating a place that people want to stay and they want to be loyal to. And most employees are going to feel that you value them and that you've invested in them, and they're going to want to stay and contribute to that an organization that believes in them and is trying to help them grow. Of course, training can be costly, but it doesn't have to be. So, if cost is something that you're worried about, I would encourage you to think outside the box. Even just having a mentoring program within your organization. New people come in, you buddy them up with somebody who's been there for a while. That helps them feel a connection to your organization. Different types of training can likely be done in-house. So maybe you've got subject matter experts within your organization who could do a lunch and learn. Maybe you have somebody in accounting who is a whiz at Excel. right? So maybe one day they do a 30-minute lunch and learn for the rest of the organization on tips and tricks for using Excel, or having different departments give presentations on the things that they're doing and how that contributes to the overall organization. There's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate a learning culture in your organization. And again, that's going to help people feel committed. They're going to understand your business. They're going to feel more suitable to be doing their role. They're going to feel that they have the equipment that they need. And these are the people that are going to tend to be more creative, motivated, and innovative within your organization. And we also have striving for diversity as a way to improve your culture. So according to LinkedIn, 76% of employees and job seekers say that diversity is important when considering job offers, and 80% want to work for a company that values diversity issues. So again, super important. So when you're looking to hire people, I always hear people say, oh, we want to hire for fit. And that's great, right? You definitely want to have people that are going to jive well with your organization, but I would encourage you not to just hire people that fit with your organization, because if you're hiring people that are just like everybody else at your organization, then you're not getting that diversity. You're not going to get the benefits of that diversity. So you want to hire people that buy into and are accepting and can relate to your core values and your mission and your vision, but you also want people that are going to expand upon it. So culture is fluid, it's constantly changing, and you should always want to grow it and improve it and make it better. So with that, you need to hire people who are going to help you contribute to it and grow it and make it better. And likewise, even just within your organization today, maybe you're not, actively hiring, but you can still make sure that you're fostering a culture of openness and acceptance, because when people come to work and they feel that they can bring their whole selves to work, and by that I mean they feel safe, they feel that they can be honest, they feel that they can share ideas, they feel trusted, they are going to be the people that are inspired, engaged, motivated, and they're going to be more productive. So you really want to make sure that you're fostering an environment where, again, people feel that they can be who they are, they can be themselves, that they don't have to hide who they are and just stay in their office and do their job and not engage with people. You want them to feel that they can engage with others and share their ideas and bring in their backgrounds and their different experiences that they've had in life and apply those to what they're doing within your organization. Because again, it's not unknown, it's very common, and it's something that's been found throughout studies that people who have more diverse workforces, they tend to be more innovative, because you're bringing in those different ideas that you wouldn't have if you just had one type of person. And then finally, work-life harmony. So this is always a big one, especially post-COVID. We all kind of went off and learned how to work remote. And some of us are still there, some of us have come back. But the point being is that it really put a shift in that work-life balance and how people look at that. So anything that you can do to try to help your team members strike that balance between their personal and professional lives is going to help your culture. So if you're able to offer paid time off or flexible hours, hybrid options, wellness programs, those are all things that are going to benefit your organization. So again, maybe is it crucial that everybody is in their seats from 8:30 to 5 every day? Or maybe you have a set of core hours. Maybe your core hours are 9 to 2, and people could flex their time earlier or later based on their personal needs that they have at home that they need to tend to. Again, just things to consider that probably won't be much of a cost to your organization, but things that could have a really big impact on your employees. Because again, if they feel that they can be honest with you, letting you know, hey, I've got a sick child at home, or I have to take care of my elder parents, and I'm trying to split a shift with my sister to get coverage. Is it okay if I flex my hours earlier in the morning? When you hear your employees and you help them through these issues, they're really going to feel more loyal to your organization. They're going to be more satisfied. They're going to be able to come to work and focus on work as opposed to worrying about some of those home things that are lingering over them. So again, these are all great things that can really help improve your culture. So that pretty much wraps up what we had for today. We hope that most of this information was beneficial to you as you kind of think about that culture at your organization, and if it's where you want it to be, or some of those changes that you could make and how you could kind of implement those within your organization.
So Tina and JT, thank you both. We do have a few comments and questions here I'd like to share with you guys. So the first one is, for a small startup business that has several pieces and parts of this, the values, the procedures all established, anything for getting started on building an employee handbook, specifically resources for templates or guidelines to identify gaps to fill?
Sure. So when you're looking at a handbook, there's going to be components of it that are driven by compliance. So you're going to have federal and state laws that you have to comply with. And then some of your policies and procedures are going to be more personal to you, right? So some of those, like, of course, you're going to have a time and attendance policy around when people are clocking in, punching out, what that looks like. But the flair to that can, of course, be your own within your organization. But then you're going to need things in your handbook around, again, labor laws that apply to you. So labor laws can vary based on company size. So again, you're going to want to make sure, depending on your size, that you have things in there around, Americans with Disabilities Act and providing reasonable accommodations, Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. If you're over 50, as a startup, you're probably not there yet, but over 50, making sure that you've got FMLA language in there, Affordable Care Act, and those types of things. So I would encourage anybody who's starting out to at least familiarize themselves with the labor laws, the federal labor laws that apply to them, and if there's any state-specific laws, depending on the state they're operating in, that apply to them, because those are going to be your compliance pieces that you want to make sure that you have in place. And then you can kind of work towards some of those more individualized policies around things like dress code, if you're going to offer bereavement leave, if you're gonna, what types of benefits you're gonna offer. Again, if you're going into different training that's available, those types of things are going to be a little bit more nuanced based on your company, but for sure, your handbook is kind of like your big compliance piece. So you want to make sure that you've got all of those laws that you need to adhere to in there first.
And also, we talked a lot about living the values, but could you give maybe a couple more specific examples about cultural expectation and behaviors that showcase living the values and being a true culture champion?
Yeah, so I'll take this one, Tina. And one of the small things that I think about within Ahola that we truly believe in is that when we have these company town hall meetings, and I know we're referring a lot to them, but a lot comes out from these meetings, right? So one of our cultural expectations, beliefs for these meetings is everybody's on camera. Doesn't matter if you're at home, if you got your kids running around in the background, dogs running around, we have everybody on camera because we want everyone to feel a part of the meeting, to be a part of the meeting. Our president will go around and say, hey, Kelly, what do you feel good about? He'll call on you whether you're on mute or not, let you know that, hey, please have your input on this meeting and share with us, be a part of the team culture that we're trying to build, and share with us, let us know a little bit more about who you are. And that goes, again, from everyone from the CEO of the business all the way down to someone who may just work in our tax and accounting department. Everyone's important. Everyone has a role. And that cultural belief is, or that cultural expectation is, to just always contribute. Whatever it is you have, contribute to the group, and it's always going to turn out to be a great product.
Yeah, and I would piggyback on that. So I think another example is really having your leaders live your values, right? So if you've got management or leaders telling people, hey, you get this time off, take it, but they never see their leadership or their management actually taking time off to benefit themselves, some people might feel a little bit nervous about actually taking the time off. Or if they hear managers saying that they're so busy, they don't have time even when they're off, that they're still checking email. But your value is, hey, take time for yourself and make sure you're well. People are going to model what they see their leaders doing. So it's really critical that the leaders are doing the values and the things that they're saying that they want their employees to do. Similar to like hybrid work. I've had some organizations say that they encourage hybrid work, but nobody seems to do it. And then, so it's like, well, do your leaders do it? Do the managers do it? And most of the time they don't. So then again, employees are unsure if they're really supposed to be doing it, or if there might be, if they might be passed up for consideration for a project or something like that. So I'm always encouraging my clients, make sure that your leaders and your managers are modeling the values that they want to see in their employees, because people are watching you and they're going to emulate what they think is the appropriate behavior, whether or not it's written, based on what they're also seeing other people in the organization doing.
So the next question kind of is an additional part of this, which is the comment is, I agree with your comments that culture should be a top-down approach. In your opinion, what is the best way to set up a top-down approach or to get buy-in from the top?
I think a great way to do this, and that's a great question. I see it was Mark who asked this question. We do internal reviews to where employees are able to be open with their managers, with the upper executives, and tell them exactly how they feel things have been operated on the internal side of the company, to where our executives see it, our managers see it, the employees see the reviews on themselves as well. And like I said, we have a very open door policy, and I believe having an open door policy is absolutely key to make sure that everyone is heard, and make sure that if say an upper executive is, slipping up in one area, he can be, he can be confident in knowing that, somebody else within the organization is going to let them know exactly what's going on, how should we fix it, and how do we, prevent this from happening again. So that way, again, there's nobody who's above the law within the organization. Everyone has to abide by the same policies, the same rules, and that keeps the culture going exactly how you're building it to be.
Right. People like to see presence from their leadership. So if this is the type of a situation coming from this question where maybe your top leaders are just, they're out all the time, they're doing other things, or they're not really invested in it, it might be worth that conversation of, bringing them back and having them kind of touch base with things. So again, being part of, if you do town hall meetings, or you do stand-up meetings, or quarterly, financial updates, whatever it is, making sure that they're involved in those things. And if they can't be, understanding why they can't be, is it that they don't want to, or is there like a scheduling conflict? So again, going back to kind of identifying what the conflicts are, because again, anytime you have an organization where the leadership is engaged and actually present, talking to people or being part of, delivering these conversations, it's going to be better, right? Because what if there comes a time in the future where there's a major change that needs to happen, and your leadership just hasn't been around, right? And then they come in and give some news. If it's an organization where the leadership is there with everybody, building those relationships, it's going to be so much easier for that organization to navigate that change than in an organization where that leadership has been absent.
Well, I've got a few takeaways too from today, and thank you guys. This has been wonderful. I think for me, our reputation as an organization can be enhanced or damaged, and that can be, broadcast very widely on social media and other places. So applicants are looking, and they're evaluating that when they're making the decision on whether to come work for you. Also, I love the idea of thinking about 5 words that really describe the way people behave, work together, and treat each other, and to be honest about, what those answers are, what those 5 words are. And I also thought it was great advice when we're looking at policies that we have in place to go back and evaluate, are those policies still true? Do they still apply to the type of work, the environment we want? And are they being universally followed, or do we need to make some changes to it? So there will be a recording shared with all of you today who registered for this event. Tina, JT, thank you both. This has been an amazing conversation. Please thank you all for being here as well. And please continue to watch for more great presentations like today with our friends at AHOLA. We'll be sharing more business edge presentations that are between both the Chamber and AHOLA going forward. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. Everyone have a great day.